irresponsible military deployment in the Caribbean Sea, so as to provoke suffering on the Cuban people. They are even able to ensure reiterated cynicism within this United States. With full cynicism, they divert attention from the comprehensive efforts of their suffocation policy. No one can be in doubt of the ability of the United States to strike the economic stability of any country. This is currently being made clear through the imposition of tariffs on numerous countries around the world. In our case, these have been applied for more than 60 years. Madam President, the unjustified permanent presence of Cuba in the unilateral fraudulent list of state sponsors of terrorism is a measure geared towards strengthening the highest pressure policy against our people. Everybody knows, including US security agencies, that Cuba does not sponsor terrorism, and that on the contrary, we have been the victim of this scourge, in particular from what is financed, organized, and protected from the United States territory. The United States deliberately is twisting the situation of human rights in Cuba. There is no more flagrant, massive, systematic violation than the blockade by the United States on Cuba. The United States has no moral authority to give us lectures on human rights to Cuba or anyone else. The government of that country is responsible for extrajudicial executions, abductions, and torture. They detain immigrants, they censor media and journalists. This is the country with a serious problem of public safety, violence, and police brutality. During the current U.S. administration, we have seen an exacerbation of widespread detentions, systematic violations of human rights, xenophobia, racism against other phenomena. These are alarming practices which undermine any attempt by the U.S. government to present itself as some kind of example in human rights. They understand how the restriction on the trade between the U.S. and Cuba happens, if we could call it that. If the United States is truly interested in trading with Cuba, they would listen the majority of citizens in their state, in their country, which supports the lifting of the blockade, and would. This is what is justice and reason would tell us to do. Madam President, the government of the United States clearly is lying when accusing Cuba of being involved in people trafficking. We know that this is a narrative, that it is a pretext continuing to support the blockade against Cuba. In holding up Cuban medical support with blackmail against countries that receive such aid, the U.S. is jeopardizing access for hundreds of thousands of people to quality health care. Madam President, I would like to make it very clear that Cuba does not form part of the armed conflict in Ukraine or in any other country. The Cuban government is aware that Cuban nationals, in unprecise figures, have on their own account participated in the military operation on both sides of this conflict. None of these nationals have the consent, the motivation, or any commitment from the Cuban government to participate in that conflict. Madam President, the United States government has no ethicals or scruples or commitment to the truth in order to achieve its strategic interests. In their statement, there is no argument that enjoys the recognition of the international community. They prefer to remain isolated, as they have once again in this assembly, subject to the discredit of the blockade for more than 60 years, rather than accepting their failure in trying to destroy the Cuban revolution. In light of the attempts to slander and destroy the Cuban revolution, the people and government of Cuba will stand steadfast in their unwavering decision to continue forging an increasingly inclusive and prosperous society. Thank you.
I thank the speaker.